Good evening. I'd like to welcome everyone tonight to the Laguna Monterey Water District notice of the regular meeting, October 11, 2017. Notice is hereby given of a regular meeting in the district of the Board of Directors of the district to be held at 105 Fort Road, Portishead, Texas, on the 11th day of October 2017 at the hour of 5:30 p.m. for consideration of the business of the agenda below. This notice is posted at the office of the district on October 5th, 2017 at 2:30 p.m. in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code 551-041, 551-050, not less than 72 hours prior to the time of the said meeting. We do have the presence of a quorum. All the board members are present at this time. Item number 2 is, if we can please have everyone stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Any Father, come again. We will district business, Lord. We ask you to give us knowledge and wisdom and help us make the right decisions that we have to make on the agenda item. We just thank you for this opportunity and we pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Moving on to item number 3, invitation to the audience for public comments. Include board and staff. Anyone at this time like to discuss anything, share anything?
I just want to
Yes.
thank the board. We went up to Chicago for the wet tech.
Yes.
And I just want to thank you guys for letting us go up there. It was a good experience.
Certainly our pleasure, and thank you for sharing with us as well. Thank you. Anyone else, board, staff? Thank you kindly. Moving on to number 4, consider and approve the minutes of the workshop meeting and regular meeting on September 27, 2017. Motion made by R. Wells.
We need corrections on them.
Okay.
On both the workshop and the regular minutes, meeting minutes, we have listed present on the board of directors. On the workshop, we didn't have but 3 directors at the time. And then when we started the regular meeting, we only had 3 directors at the time, and then we approved 2 directors.
Okay, I'm going to go back and see. We're on.
That is true.
On the workshop,
Water District Workshop.
there was only 3
Okay, so
directors.
here it says that these were not active directors at that time. So.
Correct.
So
I
you
know
need
that they were appointed on September the 5th. September 5th.
They didn't take their oath until the regular meeting, in the regular meeting. They were appointed, but they didn't take their oath.
But we didn't take the oath until the regular meeting.
after the.
Yeah, we can make sure.
So that's my recommendation, is that you just make that adjustment.
Wasn't that 2 meetings ago? No, because we had it. Never mind.
Thank you. I second with that amendment.
Motion made by R. Wells, seconded by D. Wells with the amended changes. Are all those in favor? Aye. Is there any opposed? None. Motion carries. Thank you both. Moving on to item number 5. Consider and discuss with legal counsel on options for structuring agenda items.
Yes, sir, gentlemen. The manager of the district asked me to look into the parameters or the leeway for board members to issue, let's say, just a general agenda item. You know, board member report, chairman report. So you can do something very general, like district manager's report, but it can only be for items of community interest, right? Expressions of thanks, information regarding holiday schedules, an honorary or salutatory recognition of a public official, a reminder about an upcoming event, things of just kind of general community interest. The Open Meetings Act does require advance notice to the public of agendas, of items that are going to be discussed, so that it can appraise the public in general terms of what will be discussed at the meeting. So, for example, you can't say board member report, and then when it comes time for you to give that report, say, okay, guys, let's talk about the budget. You know, you can't do that. But you can say, hey, we sponsored the Little League tournament. We went to the Little League game.
before the game started, they thanked Laguna Madre Water District. Staff was there to give out water to the parents. Thank you, everyone. Or members, we have with us today a person who's been a district customer for 50 years, and we want to recognize them for being part of the district customer base for 50 years, and we're going to recognize them. So essentially, the whole purpose of the Open Meetings Act is that the public can come and hear the dialogue to be exchanged on items that are of personal interest to them, like budgets, hiring, firing of employees, or anything of substantive nature. Are there any questions? Yes, sir.
Go ahead, Carlos.
Yes, I know that I mentioned to you that specifically they wanted to direct their, if there would be an agenda item that they could say just about anything, or talk
No,
about
no.
anything in particular?
No, it's really, it's really related to department specific. If, for example, the general manager and the general manager report, he gives a report on the things that he wants to report on, and they're listed in the agenda as such, or itemized in there. But if there's an item related to the general manager, or the finance director, or the director, or the engineer department, if there's something in there we need to ask them, that's the question: can we do that in the general manager report or the department report?
So, general manager's report, the way, let's use today's agenda as an example, or go by. General manager report has purchasing agent as a bullet point, audit committee meeting as a bullet point, and lakes at SPI golf course as a bullet point. So, if I'm understanding your question correctly, if during the conversation about purchasing agent, you want to ask one of the other people of the district a question?
No, it would be strictly, it would be kind of any and all matters related to the general manager.
If it's not listed as a bullet point, you have to stick to the bullet point.
Then we need to, then my question is, can we have a bullet point that would be related to blank matters?
No, sir.
Of the general manager?
You would be in violation of the Open Meetings Act. Because what if it was something so substantive that the community would,
Even though it's discussion only.
right, say, hey, we wanted to be there for that? What if it was like, you know what, we're going to, let's talk about completely issuing bonds for $100 million to redo our aging infrastructure. But we're going to do it under the general manager's report. You're going to have a very lengthy discussion about the merits of issuing bonds.
No, you're
Right.
not, no, you're not, no, you're not. Excuse me. But there were 4 of us that served at some time, and I think altogether, maybe part of us, on the city council of South Padre Island.
Sure.
They'd have a city manager report, finance director
Sure.
report, CBB director's report, and I never, ever remember Paul Cunningham telling us we could not question that department head while they were giving their report.
As long as it's
Related to that
itemized on the
No,
report.
it was never, we were never restricted by bullet points. Am I
Sir,
correct, gentlemen?
All I can tell you is, I'm
My
reading.
experience has been that if you, whenever a department head gives a report, it's always better to ask questions pertaining to the report, because otherwise you're going to get into a whole nother discussion that our counselor is talking about, that it might not be a purchase, but it might be somebody that's interested in something about that, but they weren't aware of it because it was not in the bullet point.
For example, let's say they were doing work on a street and they were replacing a pipe, and there's someone who lives on that street that's really concerned about the time it's taking to replace that infrastructure. And you want to question him about how long it's taking to finish the improvements on that street. You can do whatever you want. It doesn't become a problem until someone makes a complaint, right? And then we have to deal with the Attorney General and the Open Meetings Act. I know Mr. Cunningham my whole life. He's a great attorney. I can't tell you what the circumstances of that were. I could just tell you what I've experienced in my 12-plus years of doing open meetings law. And you are always err on the side of caution and sticking to how the agenda is drafted. So if you, as a board member, want to talk about that street, all you have to put is progress on the street improvement project on X and X street.
Just can't discuss it in a meeting and ask the manager or something, but in the meeting with the full board is where the violation or the question comes in, is how I'm interpreting what you're saying.
Yeah.
That's correct. I mean, because think about I mean, what's the whole purpose of having an agenda then, right? Whole purpose of having an agenda is to provide the community an opportunity to come and hear the dialogue or exchange between board members. So if you just have a catch-all conversation with general manager, you're subjecting yourself to potential liability in that you didn't properly notify the public and you're not in compliance with open meetings law.
One of
Yes,
the,
sir.
one of the things we
let
used
me-
to be able to do is just, like when Scott opened for comments from the audience, from the board, that's a good time to say something, but don't expect a response.
We know
You
that.
can always,
We know
bring
that.
up an issue, but,
Yeah, anyone.
because it's not up for discussion, so it's not part of the agenda.
My turn. I now sit at this table for the Water District.
Yes, sir.
And I hear you, and I respect what you say. I
Yes, sir.
understand what Mr. Houston is saying, we've all had the same experience.
Sure.
My question is specifically, and I'll give you an example.
Okay.
For the public, this is not a conversation topic. It's really an example. During the general manager's report, he's listed some things here that he thinks is relevant to report on.
Correct.
I recall in other meetings, budget meetings and board meetings, that there was going to be a assessment of the vacuum truck of, it was understood that the vacuum truck was going to be assessed for repairs and needed repairs because we were looking at having to replace it or not. So it was agreed upon at that time to go ahead and bring in the specialists, come in and get a kind of assessment of what it takes to get that vacuum truck in order to work. And
Okay.
then we were going to have to make a decision to fix it or replace it.
Correct.
I don't see that report. I'm not seeing a report on the general manager's report, so that would be a question I would like to be able to ask the general manager in his report. General manager, Mr. Galvan, did you ever get that vacuum truck assessed for the repairs that might be needed? And so it would be like that, not so much anything else related.
And sir, I hear you, right? It is very tedious to think of every possible question you want to ask as a board member, especially when it comes to the nuances of operating a district. And like I said, there is no magic language that the open meetings law requires. And it's not a problem until it becomes a problem. Seems like we have a lot of friends of the board right now, district, but as soon as someone becomes disgruntled
Oh,
and they
understood.
attend a meeting
Understood.
and you discuss something that wasn't properly noticed,
So
they
let
have
me finish
grounds
up.
to make a complaint. So as your lawyer, I'm just trying to tell you to err on the side of caution. And I always allow a little leeway, right? Because there is no magic black and white language. But at some point, we're getting into dangerous waters.
So it would be your advice, if I had that question for the general manager in his report, I would request that to be put on the agenda
That is
under the
best
general
practice.
manager report
Yes.
or on a separate agenda item.
That is absolutely best practices.
If it's extensive conversation, put it as an agenda item. If it's just that you want to follow up on a report, Carlos can just add it to his.
I understand that. It said, Mr. Galvan, what happened to the, did we ever get that truck assessed?
Right.
Because, it's not been your mind, it doesn't come in my mind to plan ahead all the time, it's just while I'm here.
Right. Or general manager's report, for example, we're repainting one of the water towers. And project's taking longer. You still see crews out there past the time that you anticipated it being complete, and you want to ask them that. It's probably harmless. Like I said, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're liable. But if a disgruntled member of the community wants to come and make a fuss about it, he can.
If it fell
I
under-
always try to give my clients leeway. The last thing I want to do is butt in and say, guys, stick to the agenda. But if
That's okay.
if we start getting into this habit of
No,
veering off,
that's not the intent.
you're right. In the end, we're just trying to keep.
So we
you-
can't have a fourth bullet in the general manager report that says other matters related to the general manager?
Like I said, there is no black and white.
One of the things that you can do is just two things. Carlos could always ask, do you have any questions on this or any other matters, which opens up that door. Or you can just ask him to get an update on that particular thing that you want to talk about, and that opens it up for questioning.
Well,
Yeah.
the only question that I would ask is on the particular bullets. If you have any
Right.
questions on the
So if we
particular
want you to
bullets,
talk
not
about something
anything
else, then we're going to ask you to put it on the agenda.
And I've always mentioned to the whole board, like, if you have any questions, you can always ask after the meeting too.
Well, it's clear
It's not,
that,
you know, ask after the meeting, like,
it's clear that my question escaped me and you before now.
Sure.
You know, so.
Can I read you something directly from the Texas Government Code? Items that are not properly noticed or included on the agenda cannot be discussed. If at a meeting of a governmental body, a member of the public or a member of the governmental body raises a subject that has not been properly noticed in the agenda, the government body may only give a statement of specific factual information as a response or of existing policy. Any deliberation or discussion about the subject raised must be limited to a proposal to place the subject on the agenda for the subsequent meeting. So, for example, you were to bring up the water tower issue, and, you know, maybe you'll say, hey, I'd like some more information about the progress on it being painted. What you could then say is instruct the staff to put it on the next agenda for a full report on the progress of the painting of the water tower. It's not black and white. There are no magic language, but you can type city council, city commission, county commission gets in trouble for discussing things not on the agenda in Google, and you'll be surprised how many things pop up in the state of Texas for that very reason. Because all it takes is one person saying, I would have been there had I seen it on the agenda that was going to be discussed.
Okay.
One of the things also that we did actually when we were having a kind of a difficult time with this is we just asked staff to put it on the agenda every meeting. That whatever topic of discussion. And we might talk about it, we might not.
Doyle, if something comes up today or
Right.
something we have, and that's an item that we haven't talked about, for example, your example,
Yeah.
something that has bounced around and hasn't come back up. And
Yeah.
he
So
comes today to the surface. and we wanna
Surprise,
discuss it.
surprise, I don't think about the water district all the time.
Okay. Any other thing else before we move on?
Thank you.
Moving to item number 6, consider discussion with legal counsel on TCEQ compliance with the Texas Administrative Code, Chapter 290.
and, I know you had mentioned some of the rules, on that particular subject there. I did send a lot of information back to the board, as you recall, the response from the TCQ members, advising us on the particular subject, and, I don't know if you all have any questions on that part that you didn't understand. Did, you all see that, TCQ say that it could be, utilized as a licensed operator? If you have certain criteria, like, automated monitoring devices, like, turbidity meter, and some more of that.
I do. Thank you for sending the code, and thank you, Noe, for following up, and whoever else followed up with TCQ. That helped a little bit at the same time. I'm one of those people that legal counsel was talking about, you know, a little knowledge can be more difficult. And so reading rules, when I'm reading rules, I can see sometimes they may be definitive, but they can be interpreted or looked at two different ways. My question is, in the section that you provided to us, I get the part to where TCEQ was saying, and I can't quote it all, but it gets down to the 6D, E6D, I believe, in that public water systems shall not allow Class D operators to adjust or modify the treatment process at the surface water plant unless an operator holds a Class C or higher surface license, is present at the plant, and has issued specific instruction regarding proposed adjustment. I read that, I get it, but still the question is, if it's a sole person there, if it's only a D-licensed operator at the plant at that time, this says he can adjust or operate, okay? Then what is he doing there otherwise? Or adjust or modify? And so, again, that didn't, I read what TECQ wrote. I reached out and placed a call for him today, but I didn't get him to get a little more further clarification for myself. I'll follow up with that. But yet, that still did not satisfy me that the district is covered with a D operator there. I would then go up and ask that the section above that says that, in the Class C or higher operator doing a plant must be provided at least 1C or higher with continuous turbidity and disinfectant residue monitors with automatic plant shutdown alarms to summon operators so as to ensure that the water produced continues to meet the Commission's drinking water standards, et cetera, et cetera. So my question is, does the entire plant, please educate me, if something goes awry and there's an alarm that shuts down the plant and sends the alarm notice, does the whole plant shut down or just the microfiltration part of it? What happens in that respect? My question is, are the proper safety shutdowns and alarms in place working at the plant today?
Yes, sir. It depends on the alarm. Depends what the alarm is assigned to, but it's not always going to shut off. And if it does shut off for whatever reason, even the C or B operators will call me and I will be on site.
Yeah, I really appreciate your due diligence of being available. That 24/7 gets old, even on call. I appreciate that. So that would be the provision to have a C or lower there if they have the automatic shutdown. So if it's not automatic shutdown, that's a problem. Please tell me, going back in and reading the other section above that when we got into 2C, public water system using chlorine dioxide shall place the operation of the chlorine dioxide facilities under the supervision of a licensed operator who has a Class C or higher license. Again, that's one of those read it two ways. So I can read it where it says the district shall have a Class C or higher to be on, working at the district if carbon dioxide is used. Or does it say a Class C operator needs to be present when carbon dioxide is being used?
Well, TCQ will tell you themselves that there's a gray area there, and which is why they allow us to, for the Class D operator to monitor. And if they make changes to the chemicals, again, that's when I have to be present for another licensed operator. But they can monitor, they can sample, and they will tell you themselves it's kind of not exact, but we are allowed to monitor.
Then the D operator is nothing more than alarm and alert system.
Yeah, basically. I mean, but they can run the samples.
They run the samples, but they can't adjust or modify
The chemicals, no.
in any of the operation. Okay, so again, that's the gray area. Using chlorine dioxide, is it required to have somebody on present or just having a C or higher on the district employed qualify under that rule? It's a gray area. Read it two ways.
You can read it two ways, but I mean, they allow us to do it. We ask them an exact question and they give us an exact answer. So.
I'll yield
I have a
to
question.
comments.
No, you're correct.
How often do you change or modify or the plant? For the most part, we're pretty consistent. If there will be days before you even make changes to the plant. I mean, once when the flow starts coming down, that's when you start making changes from slow season to higher consumption or vice versa. But once you're set at a like our average is 3.5, 3.6. Once you're there, you grab that sweet spot and
You're there.
3.5 million gallons.
On average, that's what we do.
Okay.
I think the question I had last week was, and you answered, can a Class D operator be the sole person at site? And you said, yes, he could, because you had, the TCEQ had told you that if you had a cell phone,
Yeah.
and I don't see that here, and we asked you to get a letter from the TCEQ, and you said you could, that would clear up that gray area. I still don't see that gray area cleared up.
We got the email, I believe, where we asked the exact question. Yeah, so you have another rule or regulation where it states that. But he's the one that followed up with the emails, and he asked them an exact question, and he could be on site, and they answered. That is correct. I mean, I don't know how much.
Well, I never saw that email then.
I did see it.
That he could be,
It-
he could be a sole operator?
Yes, the question was asked of TECQ. TECQ referenced the section that we read, the 29064 6C, D, something like that. And then that was the, cannot adjust or modify section. And then the district staff person replied back, to be clear, this means that a D license can be on staff without anybody else, whatever language was used, simply without anybody else there. And the reply was yes, pursuant to this rule in that email. But again, it got a little gray to me, probably not the right word, but a little confusing, if you will, in that when, a little knowledge is dangerous sometime when I'm reading, the chlorine dioxide, and then, then I'm reading the same sections, and it says, the E, 6E or something, say refer to paragraph 6. I go down to paragraph 6, it goes back and references paragraph 2, and then paragraph 2 is the chlorine dioxide, requires a C or higher license. That's, Eddie, that's in 5E. 5E, and then it references paragraph 6, and then paragraph 6, or number 6, not paragraph, yeah, paragraph 6 below, it references paragraph 2, and that's where I went back to the public water supply question of chlorine dioxide.
If I may, make just a comment. In summary, or in my observation, what I've said, we just need to encourage staff to increase the licenses.
And what I ordered them to do is to solve the issue. It's just that what I think he was trying to do is help the operators get relief at evening and graveyard shifts. But I told him, what, just put up 8 to 5.
Yeah.
That's what he did, so.
This is confusing.
Yeah, you see what I'm saying?
I mean, this is
When you-
not well written. So what does direct supervision mean? Does direct supervision mean as long as the guy in charge is a Class C or higher, then you're okay if a D operator works at the facility under the direction of a C or higher?
Direct supervision.
Does that
Does
mean
direct
on site,
supervision
though?
mean line of sight, or does it
Exactly.
mean you can
Yeah.
call him anytime?
24/7, yeah.
Direct.
So what we can do is, there are TCEQ field offices here. We could call the TCEQ field office and have them come do a 1-hour training on what all this means. They'd be happy to do that, I'm sure. I know the folks.
That's probably a good idea.
My whole intent here is just to make sure that, in compliance, but certainly by no reason other than what I've heard, and I understand that. But at the same time, in the discussion item before this, we talk about how the public can come in and, upset the apple cart real easy. So let's just get all our ducks in a row in compliance and say, come on in, go ahead and show them your logs, go ahead and show that who your shifts, what they've been, and just say, are we cool?
There's been growing scrutiny over operations of public water systems since Flint, Michigan, nationwide. So, yeah, I agree, we want to be in compliance. But so what I advise clients is, you'll be surprised how helpful agencies are to help you be in compliance if you proactively ask for help, as opposed to waiting until there's an issue. So if we call them ahead of time saying, hey, we want to be good operators, come tell us how to do it, they'll come.
Just clear, and maybe,
I believe before they booked the June, that he had advised that he did call the TCQ office like 6 months ago.
yeah.
Yeah, we did speak to him, I spoke to him.
Yeah, and I said, do you have it in writing? And that's where all this came from.
Right, sir.
And I still,
We're in good communication with them, they know me up there, they know him up there, we're the guys that are up there, talking to, we're there for everything.
Right.
And like you said, you know, we talk to them before something happens, and I don't like to, concern myself with, things that could happen, I just pick up the phone and I call them. You know,
good communication.
Next time you talk to them, you should tell them you got a bunch of scared board members here.
Nosy.
They want to make sure they're in compliance.
Nosy.
I'm not scared, I wouldn't call.
But that's a good idea, Counselor, is,
I'll put
to
that on
get some training down here. I think that would be a good idea.
I'll make one final comment, and to Mr. Galvan, you said that you've been encouraging them to get, higher license or move up, in all departments. I appreciate that, but, try to do it other than OJT. Let's try and get some higher licenses in here, steal them from somewhere or something, because by the time we take and train them and get their license up there, they're off and going to PUB or somewhere else. So if we're invested in them, I think it's wise to go ahead and, get some more qualified persons in here instead of being stuck with a D, if I'm correct, would be just kind of like a trainee, and they're learning on the job. And so, let's try to get up another level or two where they can actually adjust and modify a valve. I'm done.
Okay, moving forward, thank you. Anyone else like to add or close? Move to item.
Are we in agreement that TCQ we're going to invite?
Yes.
I recommend taking legal counsel's recommendation.
On the TCQ.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm not in agreement, but it's 4-1, so.
Just a thought.
It's a consensus.
I just don't like calling in the feds.
It's not the
Well,
So
feds,
whatever you
it's-
want to call them,
it's
and when
the
you call
state.
people in, next thing they're gonna do is see more violations, and it's gonna snowball, and I just know how that stuff goes.
Then let's deal with them now, instead of
Okay.
surprise later,
Let's-
They're going to show up.
Just for the record.
They're
Rick,
going to show up.
what's against that?
especially after me calling.
Moving on to item number 7, General Manager's report. Carlos?
Okay. I have a purchasing agent there because I wanted to let the board know that we're planning to hire one. We did interviews and we already have somebody in there ready to come in. And when doing the audit, there was a mention also of.
Staying with the purchasing agent, may I ask a question with that?
Yes.
It's in the personnel chart, flow chart, we've already approved putting in the purchasing agent. And we have it within the budget to go ahead and do that. And the person that you've taken and we're speaking of, you feel to be very qualified to handle the district's needs. And this purchasing agent is going to handle all purchasing throughout the district.
That's exactly what I requested.
Thank you.
And, that's all I just wanted to advise the board on that.
That went out already?
Yes. Really don't really, hopefully, now the next week. Okay, and the next item, the audit committee, we did meet with, the audit committee and the auditors October 4th. And, they just went over the requirements that we need to comply with. And after all was said, that they're going to do a single audit, this year, we will complete the audit by December the 15th. So that's the good news about it. We will complete it by December the 15th.
That's their desire. That's their desire.
Hopefully, we can move forward on it and then, get it done.
And that's one of our agenda items tonight is the agreement with them.
Okay, and then on the next one, the lakes at Sapali Island Golf Course, was brought up to my attention, and we checked with them, with the manager in charge of the area. He said that they haven't received rain for 2 years, consistently to fill them up. So that's why they're on the low side. They did drive by there and they were very low. So, he just said it hasn't rained, so they're keeping them that rain.
So are the,
We can't pump them full.
Well, they can if they want to. but
They
just
wanna
have
buy
to
the
pay for
water.
People out there said they'd pay for the water.
Is there a contract?
There is a contract, it's been since, I think the contract's been, with us since 1999.
They buy the effluent, don't they?
Purchase water.
Raw water.
They're buying raw water, right?
Raw water, correct. But, the agreement mostly says for golf course water.
Could it have anything to do that they're in the transition period right now with a
I
new
think that's
buyer?
what it might
So
be.
we don't want to pay any more than we have to because we're getting out of this thing and ditching it?
I think it could be that.
I know that
If it goes to
could be
extent,
it.
I'm asking, it could be that.
So I don't see why those people out there should lose their property values with dry mud holes behind their house because the thing is selling.
We cannot force them to.
It's not fair, man.
well, that's not for the district to be concerned with.
Well, it is when those people have water taps and
Well, that's something they need to approach the district. I would suggest that you go ahead and tell those people to come and talk to the district and
They've already
buy
called
some
me.
money. Well,
I didn't start it, I'm just relaying the message.
if you have that line of communication, go ahead and tell them that, water's available. Go ahead and get with the
Well, I'm being
district.
told that one group's paying for their own lake to be full. Is that true?
Yes,
Huh?
yes.
Somebody is doing that?
Some of those smaller lakes, the property lines actually go out to the middle of those lakes.
Right.
And one or two of those instances, those people are purchasing water for their little mini lake.
Really?
Like an irrigation or?
Well, I don't know how it does, but those big lakes are basically owned by the golf
I
course.
think it's that 80-cent water we're selling.
Yeah. And the other day we were out there and we talked about the effluent. The effluent that had been discharged out to the lake, you were temporarily routing it to that one lake. And what treatment were you doing to that?
That's a filtration pump, what's it called, Charles?
Is it the
filtration
fluid
Well,
or
it's
raw
a
water
cloth
they're
media
getting?
filter.
Cloth filter media?
The
Treated effluent?
effluent coming
Yeah.
out of the Laguna Vista plant currently goes out in that big lake.
No, it's only, is it a big lake? It's not a big lake.
Yeah, it's-
Well, we have 2 discharge permits at Laguna Vista. One's the standard one to send it to the reservoir that's Christensen property, and it's basically all closed in by the spillway. And then we have a reclaimed water use permit that goes through an extra filter, like that, basically some socks, and that's what can go to the community lake.
Right.
And with the way that pumping works, we typically only run it, 8 to 5, or it doesn't get a lot of runtime, just because in the chlorine contact chamber will get low level overnight, or it just won't be able to. We need to work on controls to be able to let that thing run on its own, really, and we need to be watching it.
But you could set that up, rather than discharge the effluent into that lake, you could discharge the effluent into that big lake.
Right, it's just a matter of having the pumps coming off of the before it goes. Yes, the short answer is yes.
All right, so that can be done. When is it going to be done continuously?
I mean, it's a matter of.
They have requested for us to do it.
That's what I say. That's
If
what
you
I
have an
say.
agreement with that,
Yeah. Before we go there, before you start dumping on somebody else's land, you need to get a request for that.
What's our responsibility and obligation?
But
Well,
Charles is,
we did talk to them for temporarily just running the filtration media because it was getting clogged up and dirty. I told them to fix it up, clean it, and then just run it that way to talk to them, and we wouldn't pump that way. They agreed to it, but it was only about a week or so.
No.
What are we gaining
I gotta,
cleaning that up or?
No, it's already clean. It either goes into the big lake, which Charles said they had a
No,
permit.
but Charles said they gotta have a final filtration system,
Oh.
which is a sock,
Well, no, but we already have it in place. We
You have it in
built
place.
It's
to go that way.
all it is they added a turbidity limit, and by running it through that extra filter that's in place, it meets that limit. That's
Right.
all it is.
But you don't do it going into the other lake,
Correct.
but you do this one here.
But yeah, for the one that stays in the pond, in the golf course. I mean, it's,
One of the TCQ requirements that that we comply with that filtration, system before it goes to the property owner.
I mean, I don't know if you wanted more of the history on the runtime of why it had such a low runtime, because when we did the startup, in 2013 or whenever we finished that job, there was a billing agreement set in place, and we asked, the homeowners association, how much do you want to let us, how much are you willing and able to pay on the bill? And they basically gave us an answer of $2,500, and you mean a month? And then they were like, no, total $2,500. So it ran a month or two until it got up to $2,500, and then was shut down until we determined an ability for the association to pay.
But that's a raw water.
No, this is the effluent, the reclaimed water. And there's also some language in how the land was donated, whether or not that should even be built in the first place. But that's kind of what we did just to be able to run the class media filter is we've just set it to no bill and let water get through there just to maintain, the treatment unit.
Can't we just be consistent one way or the other?
That I don't know if we need to have a separate discussion on the issue of billing or no billing.
I got a question. Since we do have a contract in place, and the place golf course is selling, I believe, or under contract or whatever, until that happens, will we have to update that contract with a different entity on there?
Renegotiate.
So the contract we have in place is not even,
No, there's still water in the golf course,
if
they're
it-
just
if
not
it's-
putting any water in the lakes.
I'm talking about the entity we sell to. That's what's documented on the contract.
Well, I understand that you purchasers, proposed purchasers, were going to come to the district and renegotiate a new purchase.
Right.
So
until
that's
that-
an
until that
expiration date
happens-
on, I think, of 10 more years or something. The current contract, we dealt with that going back a while ago. It had an expiration date on it or something.
What happened, Kurt, we found out we were selling them water for 25 cents less than we had cost us to put it over there. And we had to go up on the rate, they didn't like it. Yeah, raw water, they didn't like it.
Cost is what it has to
But we were charging them 30 cents, and Carlos said it cost 55 cents.
Can we get this in the engineer's report next meeting?
Hey, I brought it up last week, but nobody yelled at me.
Well, and Rick makes a point, and some people may question, why is it of a concern to this district? But your point is well taken, when values are lessened on a property because of the amenities that are going up.
Lessen a bunch.
Well, that affects the tax revenues that
District's revenue.
the cities and we get, so it's in everybody's best interest
So we are
to keep
looking at it.
everything up to snuff.
I'd hate to pay 350 grand for a house on the lake, and a year later, there ain't any lake.
I'd sue my agent.
All right, well, let's move forward, yeah, we need to.
I would too.
We need to stay on topics.
That's all I have for tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you. Charles, moving to item number 8.
All right, yeah, of course, the first one's the Water Environment Federation Technical Exposition and Conference. So, we had me and 3 other operators, we attended up in Chicago. I think it was pretty effective as far as, getting our operators a little, outside of our area and seeing exhibitors and current technology and kind of getting up with the times and everything. So, Saturday, we basically, 2 of us had a full day workshop on grit removal systems. So we were able to see, sections of the pumps that are actually getting delivered to Port Isabel and, instructions from the vendors for maintenance and the areas that are meant to wear, the areas that are meant to last. So, it was able to get, hands-on experience with the equipment, through the vendors up there. So I thought it was a pretty successful, trip to be able to get the guys, up to speed and current with the wastewater areas that we need to focus on. So, I mean, that's basically what we did up there in Chicago. And then Sunday was odor control. So that's probably another area we want to maybe see if, we can do a little more than what we're doing today in terms of adding odor control structures at the plant, or, that's an area that we can follow up on, and maybe take some of the material that we got up there and apply it here in our district. So we'll be following up with those kind of efforts. But yeah, that basically wraps up, what we did at the conference, and just very thankful that we're able to get 4 of us up there.
Very good.
What are we looking at on the other part of your report? Is it a second part? I didn't understand how that really...
all it is, the revised CT study at Water Plant 1, but basically I included our old letter of what we have out there today. And basically our goal is at this water plant, today we use chloramines, and with chloramines you need a really long run time for disinfection, versus with chlorine dioxide, it's a stronger disinfectant, and you can get your disinfection requirement for your virus log removal, virus inactivation much faster. And we already have it in place at Water Plant 2. And really, to get Water Plant 1 back up to a 5 MGD plant, we need to be doing the same thing over there. And so it's basically the fact that right now we're working on a pilot study. We're going to be trying to do it in-house. And I mean, that was just kind of the general status of, as far as the update, right now I'm sitting on a review of the draft I already got from NOE, so we can submit the request to TCEQ to run our pilot study.
So if I'm understanding, you're saying when you went up to this conference in 2017, it jogs your memory that you needed to update 2007.
No, these are 2 separate items.
I get that, but
yeah.
We're going back and looking at a 2007.
Well, the only
document.
reason it's dated 2007 is that that's the last time we've updated our CT study at the water plant. There hasn't been a real need or a trigger to update the
So
study.
you're just telling me you're going to update it?
Correct.
We'll add it in the report. Thank you.
Yep.
Moving on to item number 9, Sanmona.
Yes, on the elections update, out of the, 13 tasks that we have set up based on the attorney's recommendations, we already finished the first 3, which is the advertising, the delivery notice of the election of the county, and right now we're good with the advertising. We posted 3 locations here with the city of Port Isabel, the library, and also the post office, and of course here in the district, and the website is already posted. And we're in compliance with what we're supposed to be committed with according to the elections department. And this is an effort basically with the election administrator from Cameron County, and of course, our attorneys from McCall. And on the depository agreement, we met with a professional committee meeting, and I was explaining them on the process that we have in order to get that depository agreement. And I think that was very much informative, so they can understand, that this is a lengthy process, and it requires also a lot of cooperation from different teams, between internally and also with the banks. I mean, we put the word out already. We got the Wells Fargo and IBC that they're gonna be, if they're interested in coming to us and send us the RFP. We still have not received the response from the rest of the banks, but we're in the process of putting all this effort together. And I don't know if you all have any questions about this.
We're on track.
We are.
Tomorrow you're going to check off another X on the 12th?
Yes, sir. Yes,
Okay,
sir.
so you're on track. That's the report. Thank you.
Yes.
And we'll be meeting
Moving
again
on.
on the 17th?
Yes, correct.
Okay.
Yes, I'll send you something before that.
Moving to item number 10. Thank you, Sanmona. Item 10, consider and remove from the table the following item tabled at regular meeting on September 27th, 2017. Consider and discuss for possible approval of district council and general manager's recommendations for agreement with Verizon Wireless Antenna and Individual. Need a motion to take this off the table?
So moved.
Motion made by Mr. Avalos,
I'll second.
seconded by D. Wells. Are all those in favor?
All right.
They are. Any opposed? None. Thank you. Motion carries. And item number 11, consider discuss for possible approval of district council and general manager's recommendations for agreement with Verizon Wireless Antenna at Andy Bowie.
I'd like to recommend that we table this item, and we see that we met October 3rd with the representative and their attorney and conference call. So they're working
Is it October
Once they
3rd?
complete it and send it to us, we'll have something back that I can at least show up to the board.
Yeah, we don't have an agreement to look at yet.
We don't have nothing yet.
So, but you said you met with them on the 3rd.
I met with
Or you
with the
talked to them on the
attorney
3rd?
and Mr. Love, and,
Okay.
Their representative, and then the attorney on the conference call,
Okay.
And-
talked about it, and they corrected it.
And hashed out a lot of the
Questions?
Right.
stuff that really wasn't, yes.
If I
Motion
could
to
just-
table.
If I could just say, Mr. Wells did a fantastic job of reviewing the document very thoroughly, bringing several concerns to the table, and I think that they were well taken. I mean, their attorney seemed to agree with a lot of our concerns. There were some things that they said, look, we need to have it in there as a matter of practice, but most of the stuff, they agreed to. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Yeah,
you, Doyle.
I'll take half the fee.
I think I even remember to bill that, but thanks for reminding me.
Item number 11, to motion to table by R. Wells.
Second.
Second by Mr. Avalos. Are all those in favor?
Aye.
There are any opposed? None. Thank you. Thank you again, Mr. Doyle, for taking the time to keep this going and really making things work for the district. Item number 12, consider remove from the table the following item tabled at the regular meeting on September 27, 2017. Consider an award contract for the sediment removal services at the river pump station. Bid 17-06-15. Motion to remove.
So move.
Motion made by D. Wells.
Second.
Seconded by R. Wells. Are all those in favor?
Aye.
All those not opposed, motion carries. Thank you. Item 13, consider and award the contract for sediment removal services at the river pump station, bid 17-06-15.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, I did talk to the owner and needed the soil or the silt sediment at the pump station so we can utilize it at other places. And he said he'd give us a discount of $2,000. So the full contract would be
46.5.
Are we gonna have somebody out there basically supervising, just keeping an eye on
We'll
him?
have somebody out there to-
Make sure, you know, he don't dig it out half on what he's supposed to and then leave.
We'll have-
I mean, you know, the
Yeah.
perimeters and you're
We have
gonna
to
stay
open
on
the
it.
gate and make sure that we-
Well, then if they're gonna do that, we're okay.
Yes, Tom?
So there was no hauling in this proposal. I didn't read it in the bid specs that they required. They were just, you know, the silt to be disposed of by a contractor in the most efficient and cost-effective manner. And then we spent a lot of conversation about hauling it here and this and that and the other. But you have got an agreement for adjacent landowner to go ahead and deposit that material on their land.
If we don't use it, we'll do that.
What are you going to use it for?
Well, we'd like to fill in the water plant number 2 or there's not enough building up there.
I can get you that stuff. I can get river sand brought to you for about $8 a yard. So be thinking about that.
Well, yeah,
It
we
costs
can,
$3.25 at the pit, and then the hauling, it's $10 to the island. So just file that away. Then to your comment there, the bid specs are the 50-foot long, 40-foot wide, 8-foot deep area. And I'm assuming in front or adjacent to the intake. And the second part of that says the contractor shall use equipment necessary to free intake of silt sediment material. And
Rush also?
silt sediment material, interpreted however, the brush will come out.
What's he use, like a drag line?
We have a
nano dredge that he's gonna put in there, basically a pump,
From the top, he's gonna, or from the river?
he's gonna get in there.
Is he gonna have a barge in there? Or?
A small, well, not this size, but it's a nano dredge and he's gonna fit it in there.
It ain't this guy that's dredging locally on all these places out here now. There's some guy with one of those little nano dredges that's doing everybody, same guy.
I don't know who's doing it out here.
I don't know is Columbia?
Oh, no, this is Bullet Construction.
Oh, okay.
He was a partial owner of dredging.
The point to be made here is that you set diameters and depth on the bid specs. And to follow up what Rick said, somebody's gonna go out there, I would assume, or want, and measure out where he dredged out and to what depth, to make sure we have the minimum bed.
Big stick, see if it says 10 foot on it.
Before they take out the drainage, so we can move around here.
Yeah, the same thing we did to measure, so, right, now.
Somebody needs to do that,
Right,
to make sure that we got the bang for the buck,
right.
and that would be it. And then, please tell me again that the district has all the necessary permits required to do this dredging from any federal, state, or local entities.
We've got paperwork that says we're allowed to clean up our.
Is there any, that's just paperwork, or is that a permit?
We have the email, we're not required to get a permit because we're not gonna get into the actual river. It's our thing, we're able to do what we want, or what we need to keep.
Is that the
And we have it on, we have the rule.
International Boundary Commission? Who is that? Who is in charge of that?
It was the Corps.
Yeah, Corps of Engineers.
Corps of Engineers.
We've
Really?
done this a number of times over the years, so you know the procedure,
Yeah,
I've done it
right?
before, it was before my time on the paperwork.
Yeah, I mean, if,
3 times?
Thank you for saving $2,000. Just make sure we get our whole. I'm done.
I'd
I'll
like
make a
to,
motion, oh, go ahead.
I'll move to approve with the amendment of the $2,000.
Second.
Motion for approval by Mr. Avalos, seconded by R. Wells. Are all those in favor?
Aye.
Are any opposed? None. Motion carries. Thank you. Job well done. Moving on to item number 15. Consider and award ground maintenance service contract bid number GMS-17-08-05.
That's the recommendation and the justification. I did call the gentleman and he is a one-man company and it's kind of hard to fly with all properties with one man. We did have the justification for the people that he's done it for. I called them and they preferred like good references, like always. He's a good,
Oh, you're right. I skipped 14, didn't I? Thank you, Daisy. I did. Excuse me. I apologize. I did skip 14.
this one and go back.
Huh?
We finish this one and go back. It's up to you, Chairman.
well, what I just want to mention is that I did recommend for the buying of the registration sheet for.
Let's go back to 14.
Thank you.
Consider and remove from the table the following items tabled at the regular meeting on September 27, 2017. Consider and award ground maintenance services contract bid number GMS 17-08-05.
You are correct.
Motion to
So
remove.
So move.
Motion made by D. Wells.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Avalos. Are all those in favor?
Aye.
They are. None opposed. Motion carries. Thank you. Item 15, consider and award the ground maintenance services contract bid number GMS 17-08-05.
As I mentioned, I recommended that the board approve the second order for the personnel that he has and all the equipment.
I'll make a motion, we approve the recommendation from staff. The only question I have is, but somebody wants to make a second.
I'll second it.
Doyle was going to ask a question.
Well, now we'll get into questions. That's okay. We
Okay.
have a motion and second, and now we can have a discussion.
Motion made by Mr. Avalos, seconded by R. Wells. Are all those in favor?
For discussion?
For discussion.
Yes.
Yes. My question, a couple of questions, and that would be that, he said he's a one-man band, one-man groundkeeper. Did you indicate that it's going to take more than two? Did he offer two opportunities? He said, but he was not going to hire anybody else.
I did ask him that question, and, maybe I think something behind, right? I'm willing to do it.
I respect your insight on this. I can go with your recommendation. My other question is, as I recall, the last agreement that we had also included, and my question is, does this agreement include maintenance of the fence outside and inside in the areas that would be appropriate? I remember a discussion a year ago, and that was a requirement. My question a year ago was, how can we take and require them, particularly in these residential lot areas, how we can make them go outside and do that. But at the same time, you know, the pump station and other areas, are they taking and maintaining the outside of the fence and keeping our fence clean of brush and grass?
Okay, the answer is, the requirement that we have is not to do that, because we can't require them to go into private properties, as, a lot of areas that we have, adjacent property is, private property. So it's not in the bid to do it outside, just the inside, and, wherever they can on the outside.
Well, from my experience, that if you don't take and have preventive maintenance or maintenance on those areas, that you're going to lose your fence to that brush growing up inside it. So my recommendation would be that you have a little more identification of those areas that need it, and I'm going to use the river pump station as an example, and you just talk to the adjacent landowner and say, do you have any problem if we keep this strip clear on the outside of the fence?
What we're doing is that the personnel are doing part of it also, as you remember that we are doing lift stations that are small areas, we're taking care of that ourselves.
Right, but in the bigger areas, is that being done?
The one that's really, and I noticed this when we went out to the river, that's the one that really needs it bad, you know, because that stuff is growing into the intake. And now, I understand the liability or going into other people's property, but whoever, I don't know, MNH is here, but if there's nothing that keeps them from saying, hey, do you mind if I cut on this side of the fence, you know, so that it looks nice? Aside the fact that it's going to save us a ton of work, because all that shrub and everything is growing inside those walls. So maybe it's not in the contract, but there's nothing that's going to keep MNH from asking nicely the neighbor, hey, do you mind if I cut around this so that at least the fence doesn't have all that stuff growing in between? If we have to amend it later, that's fine, but I mean, that should be an easy thing to do. I mean, I cut my neighbor's yard because I want my yard to look good.
I'd
You
like
know,
the
and so-
contract to include that. I mean, amend it or not, I'd like this new contract to have it in the contract with an understanding that the district shall obtain permission from the adjacent landowner. If that is done, then
If
they
necessary,
will do
because
it.
there's some areas that
In the
might
absence
not
of that,
do
we
it.
don't have to.
I don't think you can approve
Do we
the
have to-
contract with that. I think
We
you
can't,
have
we're
to,
gonna have to.
you have to throw it
table.
back out, yes.
Table.
No, we're just approving the bid. The contract is different. We're not approving the contract, we're approving the bid. The dollar amount.
You're awarding it.
Awarding,
What I recommend is that we have a new counsel here, he can, word it for us, and if you have the contract in here,
Are you okay with that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, then we'll have council,
I'm good with his word.
Well, this is our guy right here?
Yes.
Yeah, call the question.
Oh, okay.
Call the question.
Call the question, call the,
Put it to a vote.
yes. We have a motion for approval by Mr. Avalos and a seconded by R. Wells. Are all those in favor?
Aye.
They are. Any opposed? None. Motion carries.
I didn't realize our man was sitting here.
Yes.
Talking about him.
Moving on to item number 16, consider and approve an engagement letter and contract amendment for CRI-Long Children for single audit for FYI 2017. FY, fiscal year, what's FYI?
They're adding $6,000 for the simple audit work, and this is for the $5,800,000 revenue bond that we have, and it's considered as a grant, even though it's a loan. It comes with the requirements from the state, so we need to pursue with the simple audit for some requirements. And starting
What I heard in the audit meeting was that they were bumping the cost up because they got burned last time because it was such a problem.
Correct.
So it wasn't just because they had to raise revenue burns. They just, excuse me, that's what they told us. Because they got in such lump over time that they had to take and complete our audit last time, they were going to put in some extra provisions for covering that expenditure.
That is correct.
Move to approve.
Motion made for
Second.
approval by D-Well, second by Mr. Avalos. All those in favor?
Yeah.
There are none opposed. Thank you. Motion carries. Thank you. Moving to item number 17, consider and approve the purchase of Encode module for inventory control.
This module will be a subsidiary to the general ledger. So basically, all the control will be integrated with our system, with our input system. Right now, we are handling everything through the NRTA, which is a fleet management system. So this will be easier to audit, and it has been requested priorly for the auditors as something that we do improve our control.
What's the dollar amount of this?
6,300, and that's the income module, and 1,500 annual maintenance.
See, what's presented to us is a blank check, a blank request. The only thing that we got is one sheet here, approximately $6,000. I'm not comfortable approving what I'm gonna call a blank check request without having backup material of what it is and how much it is, and if this is the only Encode module that will do the job we want, and this is the best value for the district. I can't approve this for those reasons.
Okay, you're aware that we have all our modules with input system. So basically, is the primary accounting system that we have. So that's why it's better to integrate something to what we have than come up with something new, that's what we have right now, something on the side.
I can't believe you could have brought us something in our packet that was different than approximately $6,000.
Well, this was done, basically, the best that I could with the time that I had, and they can come up with something else, or maybe another extra sheet. That's all they give us with it from an input.
They give you a cost proposal. They give you a cost of services for this. And if it was that important, I can't accept that that's all I had time to do if this was a problem from before. It could have been addressed before. If you needed it now, you needed it before.
Mr. Ravan, we have discussed this, and we come up with the possibility of doing this request this time, because we're going to start our fiscal year, and because of the issue that we have with our inventory currently. Because our inventory is basically open, so 8 managers can go at any time and do entries.
I make a motion to table at this time and request additional information on this agenda item.
Cost not to exceed 102.
Second.
Just
Motion made to table by D-Well, second by Mr. Avalos. All
With-
those in favor?
with the request that when it's brought back to us, that we have proper information brought to us. Thank
And
you.
maybe we could get some input from the new purchasing agent on this as well. Might be helpful.
Good point.
Good point. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None. Motion carries. Thank you. Item number 18, consider and approve the purchase of one laptop for the Beacon system. Same issue is correct.
And here, well, this is for the direct appropriation, so we don't have a direct appropriation, first of all, okay? This was approved in February 2017.
I'm sorry, we do have a director of operations. We asked Mr. Galvan to assume that role in the interim until we did have a director of operations.
Yes, you do know.
Please continue.
This one, is this for a later day, or?
I do not feel comfortable approving an item with a blank amount for one laptop. Is that $500? Is that $5,000?
Yeah.
You're not bringing me any specifics that I can take and approve for.
Yeah, and I
Please,
just want to have this
move to
one,
table.
Mr. Galvan,
Second.
that the proposed item, it was for the Beacon system because our.
Call the question.
Motion to table the item by D-Well, seconded by Mr. Avalos. Are all those in favor?
Aye.
There are any opposed? You're opposed?
No.
All those in favor? No opposed, motion carries. Thank you. Item number 19, consider and discuss for approval of water meter AMI software purchase. I'd like to pull this one from the agenda. We don't
I'd
need table
like-
if we pull it, do we?
Oh, just go,
I'd like to deny it. That would be legal counsel, what you,
Take any of those courses of action.
I'd
You could say,
like to-
I'd like to withdraw this from the agenda, you can table it, you can vote on it, deny it.
I'd like to just withdraw from the agenda and we'll move on to the next
Second.
one. Okay, moving to item
So
number
with
two.
the, just for a second, with this one, then I will send the letters to Darcy.
Yes, we'll deal with that after November,
Oh, after November.
after the,
Okay, so no, it's not declining the discussion for
no.
no, we're
No,
just pushing it
no.
until November.
later, okay.
Moving to item number 20, consider and approve the disbursements. Don't have any questions about any one in particular, otherwise I ask to approve them all.
Second.
Can I ask a question,
Yes.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
We're on 20, right?
Yes, that's correct, disbursements.
As an example,
Can you tell us what page?
Page.
let's say on page number 4, the GT paving, check number 8859,
You are on
414.
414, okay, and dealing
GT
with
number 3,
GT paving number
third
3
thing,
Yeah.
third one down.
for $12,000,
Yeah.
yes?
Have these checks already been issued?
On 9/22.
Then why are you asking me for my approval to disperse? If you've already dispersed, why are you asking me now to approve what you've already done?
I think they're just showing us what the bills are paying, basically.
But no, that's not the way the agenda item reads. Consider and approve disbursements.
It was always like this.
Yeah, but
Good question, it's a good question.
if you had, Rick, if you had a question, if 3 of us had a question about GT paving.
I understand.
The check's already gone.
It ain't like to be, what used to be in the city when they passed a check between 2 of us and we talk about it.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's different over here.
So the question is, do we take and approve what's already been issued, or do we take and approve the checks before they're
He's
issued?
just throwing an example. I mean, the question is.
But we'd have to change the whole system. It's different over here, but I know what you're saying, Herb. The way we're used to it.
What it is that these contracts have been awarded.
Yes, we have a contract with GT paving.
Yeah, well, it's not just this particular item.
It's all of them.
It is discussion is these payments.
It's like my wife says, you know, I spent $150 on a dress, what do you think? We should already spent it, so what can I do about it?
Right, well, I mean, that's kind of the importance of having those meetings twice a month to keep the disbursements moving.
Yeah.
But, you know, you would think you approve the disbursements, then you issue checks.
I'd like to place this, I'd like for this to be on an agenda item for discussion at our next meeting, and to discuss this particular question of approval before or after.
In the meantime, we keep on running the weekly checks?
You're gone. They're out already.
No, the next one.
No, you have, that's the thing, that, you know, it's very difficult to do that because you're sending out checks every day
You're
or every
approving
other day.
operations checks
Yeah.
that have already been.
You don't wanna
approving
get into
operation checks
running
that are
it
going,
yourself.
and you're awarding contracts and other items of $5,000 concern going out. Yes.
The budget has been approved at the beginning of.
To spend the money. The budget has been approved to spend this money going. and you haven't-
Yeah, but not all of it the same way. On GT paving, yes, on those contracts, those agreements, but there's other expenditures in here that aren't necessary, i.e. miscellaneous expense. So I would like to just have this conversation at another meeting, not stop what we're doing right now, but consider the options here.
Only problem I can see, Doyle, is when they're out working and all of a sudden, hey, they need this from Zimco Marine. I mean, they can't stop working and come to us 2 weeks later and, yeah, let's approve it. I mean,
Well,
that's
then
the
just
problem.
take it off, don't require approval. Let them do whatever they want.
Well, we can't do that either. We have to look at it.
We approve the budget.
It's just a little bit different over here, but I know what
It's the ongoing operation.
it's a catch-22.
Or we can.
Basically, I guess what we do is scrutinize them if we think somebody's screwing up too bad.
Well, that's what I would,
That's
what
all
I-
this is about.
That's all I've done in the past, to make sure we have proper receipts and proper authority, and we're not getting over the requirement of bidding things out and such as that.
That's all, the auditors come in and check all that.
So essentially what you're doing is auditing the expenses, right?
That's what it
Maybe that
is.
You change the agenda item to review expenditures versus review and.
Approve,
Yeah.
not approve.
Right.
Yeah, the word approve is not
I will
part.
tell
You still got to approve them.
I represent several, or I used to represent several water districts. And, I like just working with Laguna about that, but the business has been whittling down a little bit. But, when the board takes on a lot of the heavy lifting of approving all these expenditures, I'll tell you, not a lot of fun for the board.
No.
And stuff like hiring and firing too, you know. So anyway, just food for thought.
We have the responsibility to the district to just look after the financial viability at the same time, but if we have a problem in any particular area and into these expenditures, we look to that staff or department that would be responsible, and that's where we have oversight and control
The
of.
audit, the way we're doing that is great, but just maybe change the agenda item to review expenditures instead of reviewing.
Then I remove my request that we visit another time, because I think we've covered it tonight.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion
Second.
made for approval of the disbursements by Mr. Herb Houston and seconded by R. Wells. Are all those in favor?
Aye.
They are, none opposed. Thank you. The motion carries.
Executive session.
We are going, item 21, consider and remove from the table the following executive session item tabled at the regular meeting on September 27, 2017. Executive session permitted by the Open Meetings Act, VTCA Government Code Section 51001, ed sequence under Section 551071, consultation with Attorney 551074A1, authorizing certain deliberations about officers, employees of the district to be held at executive session to deliberate the appointment, employment, evaluation, reassignment, duties, discipline, or dismissal of district employees to with district engineer, excuse me. Need a motion to take this off the table?
So move.
Motion made by Mr. Avalos,
Second.
seconded by D. Wells. Are all those in favor?
Aye.
They are. Okay, motion carries. Moving to item 22, executive session permitted by the Open Meetings Act, VTCA Government Code Section 551001, ed sequence under Section 551071, consultation with attorney, Section 551074A1, authorizing certain deliberations about officers and employees of the district to be held in executive session. Item A, to deliberate the appointment, employment, evaluation, reassignment, duties, discipline, or dismissal of district employees to a district engineer. Item B, to deliberate appointment, employment, evaluation, reassignment, duties, discipline, or dismissal of district employees to a director of finance. Need a motion to go into executive session at 6:47 with a 5-minute recess.
So moved.
Motion made by D. Wells. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by R. Wells. Are all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. None object. We will be going to executive session 5 minutes after a recess. Need a motion to come out of executive session at 7:26 p.m.
So moved.
Motion made by R. Wells, seconded by Mr. Avalos. Are all those in favor?
Aye.
They are. None opposed. Thank you. We are out of executive session. Item A, to deliberate the appointment, employment, evaluation, reassignment, duties, discipline, or dismissal of district employees to a district engineer. We have proceed as directed with the general manager. Item B, to deliberate the appointment, employment, evaluation, reassignment, duties, discipline, or dismissal of district employees to a director of finance. Also, proceed as directed by the general manager. We are out of executive session. Meeting adjourned at 7:27 p.m.